Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series. And I am joined once again today by Steve Heapy, who is, of course, the Chief Executive of Jet2 Holidays and Jet2.com. So welcome, Steve. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Lucy. Very good to be back again.
All right. Well, yeah, it was a few months ago that we spoke, and lots changed obviously since then. Not least, we had an announcement by the Prime Minister on Monday regarding the way out of this lockdown and this roadmap. And some were fearing that travel wouldn't be mentioned, and of course, we did get a little bit more indication of what's going to happen for us. And I know, as a result of that, lots of people have been very busy, and we've heard from you guys saying that you had a great day yesterday, 1,000% up. So talk to us, what were your reactions initially from the government's statement, and then perhaps talk to us about what it's meant for your business.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we were very pleased to hear the government's announcement. We've been lobbying for some time for travel to be included in the announcement earlier this week. The indications were originally that we might not even get a mention, but we did do. And it's easy to criticise the government, but they've got a pretty hard job at the moment, to be honest. I'm not being an apologist in any way for the government. But yeah, I mean, we have a roadmap. Schools first, non-essential businesses, bars and restaurants, hopefully travel on the 17th of May. Now, whilst, I mean, the last 24 hours has been fantastic and we've seen bookings increase and hopefully it's given everyone in the industry a lift, there's still room for caution. First of all, it's not definitely the 17th of May, it's 17th at the earliest. Secondly, it's contingent on the Global Travel Task Force reporting on the 12th of April, I think it is. Thirdly, it's dependent on foreign governments opening up and allowing us into their country. Fourthly, will there be vaccine passports, etc.? How will that work? If it's an IT solution, that worries me a little bit because the government's record of IT implementations being on time and within budget isn't great. And fifth, what other restrictions, etc., will be in place? There might be really onerous legislation in place. There might be expensive things. We don't know. But what we do know is people now have certainty. And that's what we've said all along. If people have certainty, they want to book a holiday. And as soon as I can, I'll be booking one as well. So it's good that we've got something to aim for now. So I'm very happy on behalf of the whole industry, but there's still a long way to go. But at least there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. So guarded optimism, it sounds like.
Yeah.
You mentioned then the Global Travel Task Force. Now you're, as the second largest tour operator in the UK, presumably you will be asked to give your view and to contribute to that task force. I mean, I know you've been talking already.
Yeah.
That's something you'll be involved in.
I hope so. We're on the first one. Although the fact was on the first one might mean I'm banned from the second one, but we'll see. But I would hope we'd have a seat around the table because I think we've got a lot to contribute. We are an airline and we are a tour operator. So yeah, I think the more people that have valid opinions that sat around the table, the better. Obviously, if you have too many people, it just ends up being a disaster with everyone arguing and bickering. But yeah, we'd be very happy to take part again.
Okay. And so, I mean, you mentioned some of the areas that are still to be determined, but with regards to what you'd like to see then from this task force, I mean, you mentioned there the onerous regulations or the costliness of it, because clearly at the moment, we've got these 3 tests required, you've got hotel quarantine required. I mean, they're all things that even if we were allowed to travel, they would put a lot of people off, or it would just price people out of taking a holiday, wouldn't it? So
yeah.
What would you like to see, Steve?
Well, a bit of common sense, really, tempered with obviously safety issues. But I think we've got to be careful not to be too cautious. I mean, yes, by all means, listen to the scientists, but at the end of the day, politicians have got to make their own decisions. They can't hide behind the scientists forever. So if, for example, the government is going to say, okay, you have to have a vaccine, and you have to have a vaccine passport, and you have to have a test when you leave, and a test when you arrive, and you've got to be in quarantine, and you've got to change your clothes when, it's like, oh, come on. It's not belt and braces. It's about 3 belts and 4 braces. I mean, it's too much. So
Yeah.
I think they need to take a common sense approach. If people have had the vaccine, then that is a massive plus.
Yeah. And
And,
so are you in favour then of a vaccine passport? I know you say an electronic solution of that could be tricky, but are you in favour in principle of us having vaccine passports to allow us to travel?
not not particularly from a personal point of view, but if it gets us flying, then yes, but as a short-term measure.
Okay.
It's a bit like when a new tax is implemented, they say, oh, it's an emergency tax, as VAT was during the Napoleonic Wars, and it's still around 200 years later. If they say they implement it for a period of time, then it should possibly be removed, not gradually extended and built upon and built upon. So it's just this massive thing in a few years.
Okay.
But to get us going, I'd do almost anything to get us flying again, because if we're flying, we're all making money, we're protecting jobs. That's great. So it's going to be a bit hassle in the short term, but we just want to get flying again.
Of course you do, absolutely. And you mentioned as well, Steve, one of the key things is going to be whether countries are going to allow British people into, into their destinations. I know you are, you're very close to all the destinations that you fly to, and there's been some talk, hasn't there, about Greece perhaps being one of the first. But what's your view, I guess, from the ground, or talking to these other the countries that you go to?
Yeah, well, we talk to overseas governments quite regularly, and they are as keen to get people arriving into their country as we are to go to their countries. But they are waiting to hear from their health ministries and Home Office equivalents, because safety is the number one priority of their governments also. And whilst they want to get things moving as much as possible, they are presumably waiting for their own global travel task force results, etc., and we'll go from there. But I would hope that we might go down a travel corridor type route, where we consider a country okay to travel to, they consider that we're okay to be let in, and there's a sort of bilateral agreement. The good thing is we are the most advanced of any European country on the vaccine, so hopefully we will be the first country to be let in.
Yeah.
Who knows? We might even get the best sunbeds around the pool.
Well, without having to get up really early and put a towel on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, and let's go back then. You say it's given. You're cautious, but it has been a lift for everyone.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I know you had a good day. You put out a press release saying that you'd had these great figures, or good sales. Talk to us about that. How much of that was new bookings? How much of that was people who'd had previous holidays cancelled, and maybe they were rebooking? Can you just sort of break that down at all for us?
Well, without going into specifics, it was a good mix of rebookings, because we're in the process of putting our start date back to the 17th of May now.
Yeah.
I would hope everyone else does, because there's no point,
point.
trying to sell holidays before then. So there was a number of rebookings, but there was also a number of new customers, and that's split between people that have booked with us before but haven't had a holiday that they've had to cancel, and customers that are brand new to Jet2 holidays. And I would hope that our record of refunding customers and etc. Has attracted people that have previously booked with other companies. But I know you've probably had people saying, "Oh, it's easy, big percentages to manipulate numbers." Yeah, that's true, but the numbers we put out were true. They have to be. We're a public limited company. But we, being the second largest tour operator and third largest airline, we're not dealing in tens of bookings, we're dealing in tens of thousands.
Okay, so a 1,000% increase was a genuine increase, is what you're saying, and that represented a significant number of bookings, albeit not as many as you would like and as you would normally be getting.
I mean, it's a good start, but we need that level of bookings every day for quite a time to come. So yes, it was a great day. It's been a huge lift for us and for the industry, but there's a long way to go.
And
But
are
yes, the
and
numbers were right.
yeah, no, I'm sure they were. In terms of what people were booking, Steve, were they, wanting to go on May the 17th, or was it more that it just gave them the confidence to book for perhaps later in the summer? Where were you seeing most of the bookings for? What time?
Um, I think from July half term, that seemed to be the point where a lot of the bookings started. People obviously want to get away in school holidays, so there was a good family mix within there. We had bookings for the second half of May and for June, obviously. And obviously June is the peak period in Scotland and Northern Ireland as well, so they were quite healthy, although their governments haven't given any guidance on emerging from lockdown yet, so I think their numbers will improve. But from July half term, they were very good. And funnily enough, we also saw a huge boost in winter 21-22 and summer 22 bookings as well. So I think the fact that the end is in sight has sort of given people the confidence to book however far out they do want to book. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very encouraging day. But
And were
it's
they
one
booking
day.
in any particular destination? I mean, I know you fly to lots of destinations, but were there particular places that were trending or
I mean, they all did very well. They all showed massive increases on
what they
previous
were?
periods, but
Yeah,
Turkey was strong, Greece was strong, Cyprus, Canary Islands. Those were probably the biggest ones, but everywhere was up. We're
yeah.
seeing increases across the board.
And,
But
and people spending the same sort of money, or are you seeing any? Like I know it's split people, hasn't it? Are those who obviously haven't been in work in this period are
yeah.
obviously it's very difficult, but those who have been in work, the research is saying that actually they've got perhaps a bit more money because they haven't been out spending it. So, what are you seeing? Any sort of changes in sort of average booking value or
When you break
duration?
the numbers down, I mean, if you just look at the top line numbers, they're pretty similar. But there's the saying, isn't there, that averages are the enemy of insights. You sort of have to scratch beneath the
Yeah,
surface, and when you do that, there's different types of customers. Summer 22 seems to be a sod it, let's push the boat out year. People perhaps treating themselves to a better board basis or better star rating,
yeah,
etc. There might be an element of that for summer 21, but I think I get the feeling for summer 21, people just want to get away. They think
yeah,
they're owed a holiday. I've not been away for 18 months. A lot of people haven't been away for that length of time, and they just want to get away.
yeah,
And capacity is down in the market. Maybe not all hotels will open. There might be social distancing in place. So I think it's quite wise for people to try and book early because there might be some constraints on supply if this
yeah.
carries on. I'm
Okay.
bound to say that though, aren't I?
I
But
know, well done. Great plug. You got that in on a serious answer. No, look, it's worth it. If people have got limited dates or whatever, then I guess they have got to start looking.
yeah,
Steve, a second ago, you talked about how you do anything to get flying again because obviously you haven't been flying. It's obviously taken its toll on everybody in this industry. You're running, as you just pointed out, their third largest airline, second largest tour operator, and I know you've recently had to secure some more funding.
yeah.
Um, can you just, talk us through the financial stability of the company?
Yeah, of course. You are right. We've taken a few actions over the last few months. We sold our distribution subsidiary, Fowler Welch, that raised nearly 100 million. We did a placing of 20% share capital middle of last year. That was close to 170 million. And then we did another 20% placing 2 weeks ago and raised another 422 million. So we haven't received any bailouts from the government. We have, of course, taken advantage of the CGRS scheme, the furlough scheme, but we haven't had any bailouts. We've done what I think is a very responsible thing, generating additional cash to allow us to continue. And this is our own cash. We don't dip into customers' cash. So some companies perhaps use their customers as unsecured lenders. We don't do that. We manage our own cash, and we've raised the money to allow us to continue operations if we're below where we originally anticipated. So we're in a very strong position.
Okay.
I would urge people to do some research and look at our numbers and perhaps compare and contrast them to other operators.
Okay, maybe we'll do that, Steve. I think you're you're getting at something there.
No, I just think we're a very strong company.
Okay, and I think it's important to ask you about that. I mean, because
it's very important.
Because if agents are who will be watching this and they've got a choice of who they sell, then obviously it's important to know that you're booking with someone that's going to be around.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you're an agent or a customer and you book a holiday that doesn't take place, you want to get your money back. And I think I'm bound to say this, but it's true. Look at our record on refunds. We were very consistent in our refund record. We were almost top for Money Saving Expert, which.co.uk, the only tour operator mentioned by the CAA for our refund records. We refunded our customers, on time and in full, no messing about.
Yeah, and I think even just in the last couple of days, Which has come out and recommended you as well as one of the companies on that list.
That's right, because the customer always has been and always will be king or queen. I mean, if you ordered a telly from Dixon's or somewhere, Curry's, wherever. I'm trying to think of a shop near me. There's not many left now. If you ordered a telly and paid for it up front, and then the shop said, "Sorry, your telly's not come in. I can't provide you with it." So you said, "Okay, I'll have my money back," and they said, "Sorry, you can't have your money back." I mean, you'd be in uproar, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But for some reason, it seems to happen in travel for some companies, and I don't think that's right. And I think the way some companies have acted has been very irresponsible.
Yeah.
They've screwed over a lot of travel agents. They've screwed over a lot of customers, and they've put the industry in a very bad light. And because of that, I think that there could be repercussions for the industry in the way it's regulated in the future.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Steve, because we are a bit further along now, and clearly there's other priorities at the minute. We're in the middle of a health crisis, and we've got to get the industry moving again. But in the background, there are conversations, aren't there, around the potential reform and new legislation, new regulations that could potentially come in. Do you think that we should see new regulations? Do you think this has exposed some loopholes that people have been able to operate in, and that we need to close those up, or what do you expect want to happen?
Well, I think the record of some companies on refunds that were very well publicised have certainly drawn the attention of regulators and competition and markets authorities and trading standards, etc. And they'll be taking a very close interest. So I think we'll be subject to closer scrutiny in the future in respect of that, probably with a regime of penalties. And I don't think it's any secret that the government will be very keen on raising as much money as they can in the future and spending as little money as they can in the future. And they sort of said previously that they want to consider a change to the ATOL scheme. Because the big failures, Monarch, Thomas Cook, cost the fund a lot of money.
And it's not got much in it at all.
No, I think it's got about 37 quid in it or something at the moment. It's not a lot of money.
So they're going to want to build that back up.
Well, they are, and I would imagine they want it to be self-funding. So again, I would imagine that the last 12 months has made them think, and there has been some talk of perhaps introducing a trust scheme into the UK. Now, that's fine for us because we internally segregate our customers' money anyway. We don't borrow off our customers, effectively use them as unsecured lenders. We segregate it. But I think there's a good chance that will be brought in. And part of the reason it's brought in possibly is the way some of the companies have treated their customers and partners over the last 12 months. And there'll be some perfectly good businesses that behaved very honourably that might be hurt by these legislations. And I think that's a real shame.
Yeah. I mean, you say you'll be all right because obviously you ring fence your customer cash, but any new regulation or new rules and regulations that come in, they do often come with a cost. And I mean, might that impact your business? I mean, not necessarily in the operational side of things that you talked about, because as you say, you keep it separate. But do you think any, these new rules that could come in, they could be financially onerous, couldn't they?
Possibly, yeah, financially onerous, or likely or even absolutely certain they will be coming with lots of red tape, and there'll be very onerous legislations, I'm sure. But I think the government certainly has an intention to overhaul the scheme. You know, there's the CAA scheme. They'll be looking at refunds. They'll looking at airline insolvency legislation. And I don't think the behaviour of some companies over the last 12 months has helped the cause. And I think it's a real shame for some of the smaller companies that have behaved very honourably over the last 12 months, and we both know who they are, will perhaps be penalised by more onerous legislation in the future. I think it's not good for the industry. But
it sounds like you're saying
suffered.
that it sounds like you're saying that the actions of a few have sort of spoilt it for the many.
Yeah, I guess I am really. Yeah, some companies have held on to customers' money, not refunded them, refunded slow, and there's been lots of horror stories about people not getting the money back. I know someone who booked with Ryanair last March, and they've not had the money back yet.
Still. And Steve, you're obviously angry about it, and justifiably so. But what can you do about it? Is there anything you can do about it?
Well, the most important thing is to look after our customers, and we have done. I believe we have done that. We've refunded people on time and in full. We've not messed people about. We've had a full call centre that's been home working since the day lockdown started. We've been communicating with our customers and our hotel partners and our travel agent partners. And in that respect, it's been pretty much business as usual. I would hope that travel agents that are watching would attest to the fact we treat them very well.
Yeah, I mean, there is an argument, isn't there? If you've acted really well, what could happen at the end of this is that you'll reap the benefits of that.
Well, I would hope so, because yes, we have looked after our customers and we've done what we thought was right. And I think that hopefully part of the consideration when customers purchase will be how they were treated by the previous country, or how the mates were treated. And you know, I'm sure that what we've done will stand us in good stead for the future. People will remember when they perhaps made a booking and it got cancelled and they didn't get the money back for several months. I would certainly be quite annoyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be very annoyed.
I wouldn't want to see you annoyed, Steve. We've mentioned agents a couple of times, and I want to get onto that because I know they're very important for you. In terms of sort of yesterday's little sort of spike in business and stuff, was that direct business or was that coming through the trade? Were you seeing agents sort of picking up more business?
Very encouragingly, agents were up considerably in pretty much the same proportion as our other business, and that's great to see because and it shows that I think travel agents are working very hard and adapting their business models to the way things are at the moment. Because you know, if you've got a travel agent sat in their shop in a high street saying where's all the customers, well, they're not going to get any. So the fact that travel agent bookings are up enormously shows that they are perhaps cultivating their own databases, doing their own local advertising, doing things on social media, doing emails to their database. And I think it's fantastic because the high street is not by any stretch dead. I think it will have to change, but I think there's a huge future for travel agents, independent travel agents, that is, I should say. Independent travel agents. They offer a great service. They're very knowledgeable. The ones we work with, which is all of them pretty much, provide great training to the staff, and they're very enthusiastic people. And I think in terms of building the excitement and the anticipation of the holiday and knowing the product and providing a great customer service, they've been really good. And many travel agents have been open till 8, 9 o'clock at night, and it's just fantastic. I think I take my hat off to our travel agent partners who they've been very proactive in changing the way their models operate, and it's very good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've definitely had to become more creative, but you mentioned yourself that April the 12th is also the day that non-essential retail hopefully, or from that day at some point, that it could reopen. That will
Yeah.
obviously include travel agents, and they will be able to get back to their shops, we hope. What are your sort of plans for supporting the trade, Steve? I know you've been doing all sorts of virtual events and stuff, but will you get your team back on the road quite quickly, or do you think you'll continue with the virtual stuff?
Well, they've been on a virtual road for several months.
Yeah, they have.
They've been sort of out and about over Teams and Zoom, etc., and it's gone down very well. They've done virtual training events, but we've got a few things coming up. Alan is running the thing at the moment on social media where you can win endorsement by one of our celebrity friends.
Yeah.
And that's going down very well. That seems to be very popular with people that are users of social media. I don't use social media because I'm too grumpy and I don't have any friends, so there's no need for me to have it. But for those that are on social media, I think it's a great thing. It creates a bit of excitement as well, and people need something to look forward to and a bit of excitement. And having Sunita or Chico doing an advert for your business and getting that to your customer base, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good. And thank you very much for providing Chico for our Globe Travel Rewards.
Oh, that's all right. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah,
really
he went down a storm. He was great. So
yeah.
So you talk about creating excitement, Stephen. Of course, one of the things that we were all looking forward to was the opening of your Bristol base. That was something that we were gearing up for, and that's obviously had to be delayed.
Yeah.
Do you want to just talk to us about that? That will be May as well. Then is that when you're hoping to get that?
That's going to be 1st of July.
Okay.
I mean, we launched Bristol later. When you open a new base, you have to get various contractual ducks in a row, etc., before you launch it, and we did that. It went on sale obviously later than the other bases, and we've not spent as much marketing money in that area as we originally anticipated, because it's very hard to get a return on marketing money when the market has been like it is. So we decided to put the date back, and we are ramping up the marketing in that area, and we're getting a great response. And thanks to our travel agent partners in that area, I've spoken to Miles Morgan, and I've spoken to Hayes and Mid Counties, etc., and they're big supporters of us, and I'd like to thank them for their support. I think they were very keen to have us there, and they've supported us very well, and I wish them good luck.
Okay. I mean, that was one of the things that we always say is quite surprising, isn't it, when people are in the middle of a pandemic and it's but you were saying there's always opportunity, isn't there? Like, clearly we're all struggling with certain aspects, but you've got to look at the where there might be openings. So
well, you have.
Is there anything else you've sort of been looking at? Opportunity through adversity, Steve. Come on, give us.
Exactly.
What have you been working on?
When you're driving a car, you don't just look 10 yards ahead, do you? You have to look 200 yards ahead, and even when the road's bumpy, you still have to look 200 yards down the road. So we're always looking at opportunities, really. But we've got 10 UK bases. We've got a huge customer base that want to go on flights and holidays. I think we've got enough to be going on with at the moment. I know what you're thinking. You're bound to say that, and
you better say that, and then in a week's time you'll say, "Oh, we're opening it. We've got some slots at Gatwick," and I'll be like, "Oh, I did try."
We've got plenty on our plate at the moment, so we'll be concentrating on our 10 bases. There's a lot to do there. We've got a lot of people to look after, and hopefully a lot of new customers to win that were messed about by their previous travel company.
Okay, all right. Conscious of time, Steve, but just
it's all right. It's good to have another chat with you, Lucy.
Just carry on, just have another keep going. But I guess I mean, you just mentioned there that you're grumpy, but you're not really. But are you feeling more optimistic than you have done? Would you say that where we are now, do you feel a little bit more encouraged than you have done in the last 10, 11 months?
Yeah, I mean, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think the government has been a little bit hamstrung over what it can do with travel. I think possibly in retrospect, communication could have been better. Some of the decisions could have been more timely or different, but that's hindsight. I make mistakes every day. I'm sure you made a mistake once, sometime in the past, but
Several, I'm sure.
but we all make mistakes.
Of course, yeah.
But I think it's good that we're now on the roadmap. That's what we asked for, and that's what we've got. I think the next 3 or 4 weeks will be telling as part of this global travel task force. I'm always very nervous about any group that calls themselves a task force, because normally it's not very, very proactive. But if it is, and I'm sure it will be, and we come up with some sensible proposals as to how we get back up and running, I think we could be able to salvage a decent half season out of this year.
Okay, yeah. And then you're looking quite well booked, you're saying, for 2022, so that looks much more promising.
Yeah, I would hope 2022 is the bounce back year for both ourselves and the industry. I think lots of people will want to get away. They'll feel the owed a holiday, and I think it's going to be quite good for people. A lot of people have been locked down for nearly a year now, and there's talk of, you watch the news, a tsunami of sort of mental health issues as a consequence of being locked down and what have you. What better way to solve that than go on holiday and do your emails in a different place?
And are you not worried that people are all going to be going on holiday in the UK? Because they're telling us it's booming, and that's going to open up sooner, isn't it?
Well, it's supposed to be opening up soon, but yeah, some people will book, and I think bookings are up. That's indisputable that some people will want to get away. But the fact that we've been told we may operate from the 25th doesn't mean that perhaps there's going to be a massive tsunami of people that want to stay in the UK. As much, I think the UK is a lovely place. I've been to lots of places around the UK in all 4 bits of it, but I'd rather go abroad. I don't want to be stuck on the M6 for a day and a half getting to wherever I'm going, and be stuck for somewhere to park. And the UK is quite expensive. The weather's perhaps not as good. Beautiful place, but it's just not me. If I've got a week off, I would rather be abroad somewhere, experiencing a different culture, different atmosphere, different food, and a bit of sun, really. And
that's the key thing,
to get away from things. Yeah, I mean, to get away from things both literally and metaphorically.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
Okay, and capacity-wise, Steve, I know you're very quick at sort of adding extra capacity when something is, like say there is a corridor that you talk about that system coming back in. But overall, your capacity will be how much down this year, and then what are your plans for 22?
Capacity down on what we originally planned is quite significantly down by over 20%. But we'll bounce back in summer 22.
Yeah,
we've put
back to level. What back? Do you think back to 2019 levels? Do you hope?
Yeah, probably above that. Yeah. So we're optimistic about the future. We've got a good team. Our planning department is fantastic. I speak to our head of planning every morning. So he's probably one of the people that's got mental health issues, depression, because I'm the first person he speaks to every day. But him and his team are fantastic, and they just keep on top of things, and we talk regularly and change things as we need to, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're in the easiest industry to provide great customer service, because we all go on holiday, we all experience it, we all know what we want, so it's very easy to put yourself in the customer's shoes.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to work in the insurance industry years ago.
God.
I know. For a while, yeah, for a while, and you might be talking about a new product, and it's a 25-year endowment policy with 5-year reversionary bonus and special terminal bonus at the end, and you struggle to stay awake. But what better industry to work in where you can get really excited about a new product and really excited about what you're selling? Not everyone's in as lucky position as we are, in that what we're doing it's just great.
Yeah,
I love it.
right.
I won't want to work in any other industry.
Even after the last 12 months, Steve?
Even after the last 12
I
months,
mean,
yeah.
it's great that you've come on here, and I love hearing that you're more optimistic, but it must have been very tough the last year managing
Um,
your business through this.
it has been, but it's a challenge. It's all very well people um, sat on stages taking accolades when things are going well and giving speeches in comfy armchairs and going to all the gigs and golf days and gala dinners and what have you and saying, oh, things are great. uh, you're really tested when things aren't going well, and I think you can tell a lot about a business when you're going through the bad times. We talked about refunds earlier, and that's what matters. When things aren't going well, how do you change as a business? How do you get through? How you treat customers? And to be honest, there should be no difference to the customer whatsoever. The customer's not interested whether your business is doing well or your business isn't doing well. They're not interested whether an airline has refunded you or not refunding you. They
They
just
just
want
want
the
their
money
money
back.
back. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's a big test for a business when times are hard. That's how you see how good they are. Like a football team that's on a losing streak. Do they dig in and try and get themselves out, or just feel sorry for themselves? At some stage you've got to dig in and battle your way out. And I think this is a period where people, rightly so, will be very critical and judgmental as to how companies have operated over the last few months. And from the surveys we've seen, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but Jet2 Holidays and Jet2.com have come out very well, I think.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's hope, as you say, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We've dug in, and we're going to get to the other side and have a, as you say, a good second half of this year, which would be fantastic. And we wish
Yeah.
you all the best, Steve, for you and your business and all the agents that work with you.
Yeah, well, the independent travel agents have been fantastic, and they've stuck with us through thick and thin, as I think we have done with them. I think the way they've changed their business models over the last few months has been brilliant. I've got nothing but admiration for them. There are some really good business people out there. They might run one or two branches, but they're good business people that care about their business, their employees, and most importantly, the customers. And we're very proud to be working with them.
What they really want to know, Steve, is if you're going to run your conference this at the end of
I
this
don't know.
year.
I was speaking to Alan Cross before, and we very much hope to be able to do it because it's the only time we get out in the year, really. Alan and I together, because we're doing different things. It's always good to catch up with him. He's a good
And a
guy.
chance for you both to get your fancy dress on as well, of course.
Well, you're absolutely right. I've not dressed up for several months, and I am missing it.
Too early to say, but I know. But it would be great, wouldn't it, if we could, as an industry, get back to doing more of what we were used to.
And I think it would be nice to do all the serious stuff at the conference, but let's face it, a big part of having a conference is unwinding after a long hard year, having a bit of fun, and that's how good relationships are built. Both Alan and I very much want to have a conference this year. We'll keep an eye on things in terms of whether it's possible and social distancing, etc., etc. But what Alan's like, he's very creative. I'm sure he'll come up with several things, if we can't do a conference, that will be just as good.
All right.
I mean, he's done some great things over the last few months. He's very good.
Oh, good. All right. Well, Steve, we're really grateful for your time. I know how busy you are, and as you said, next 3 weeks are going to be critical. So, thank you for joining us. We'll ask you back again. Actually, we hope maybe in May when things.
Oh wow! Another invite. Wow, this is fantastic.
You have an open invite. You know that. All right.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.